What's up guys, it's Clark and welcome back to the channel. Or should I say, what's up you degenerates, you drinkers? Hey, I'm kidding. We're judgment free here, and based on the last two videos on sobriety, quitting drinking, whatever you want to call it, you guys seem to dig the vibe. Just like a no BS, casual conversation, no judgment, most important part, about what is life like beyond giving up the booze. And I went from heavy drinking every single night, 6-7 drinks. It was the only thing I knew how to do to wind down, to stone cold sober almost overnight. And in this video, I want to give you 3 tactical tips of what you can do if you're trying to give up alcohol or you're wondering what life is like beyond drinking a lot, and 3 mental reframes. And I feel like these are the most important. But I don't just want this to be all philosophical and theoretical. I want to give you like some tactics that I used that helped me immensely when I was making the transition from degenerate to sober. Saint, antisocial, borefest, square. And lastly, it has to be said, if you're on the extreme end with alcohol, seek professional help. Don't try to do it on your own. That can actually be dangerous. So that said though, 99% of you aren't there, and this video will, I hope, help. Let's talk about giving up drinking. Just that phrase alone, I'm giving up drinking. It makes it sound like you're about to lose everything fun in your life. I'm giving up drinking. I'm giving up social nights out with friends. I'm giving up my ability to tolerate the dude off pitch singing karaoke. Mr. Brightside, no. Jealousy, Turdy, you sing it, you sing it. So everything positive we associate with drinking. But what's funny is we also subconsciously associate everything negative with it. What words do you use to describe being drunk? I'm intoxicated, smashed, obliterated, faded, tipsy, hammered. This is crazy. This is psychologically uncomfortable. We have all these positive associations with it and all these negative ones at the same time. No wonder we're just like kind of confused with, okay, should I give it up? I want to, but I don't want to. And where I'm going with this is my advice is you have to resolve this cognitive dissonance between good and bad for yourself and admit that it's mixed. So what I would do here is take out a journal. You can do this in your phone, but I recommend you physically write this down. You'll get the most out of this. It'll slow you down for a good reason. On this side, write down everything that you're giving up by quitting drinking. Nights out with friends. Ability to take the edge off. Just go down the list, write down everything you think you're giving up. Then on the other side, you're going to, as hard as you can, write the positive to it. Once you make this connection that you're not actually giving something up, you're gaining a lot. You're not giving up nights out with friends. You're gaining connections and the filter that being sober puts on people that you wouldn't get along with if you weren't drinking. You're not giving up taking the edge off. You're gaining never having this sharpness that you need to take an edge off of your life because you're consistent, you're clear-headed, you're not bogged down. You're not giving up your dating life, you're gaining being able to consciously vibe with people and maybe get in dating situations or relationships with people that are actually aligned with you, the sober you. Do this with any habit change too, and that's like really how you resolve this kind of like, ooh, I want it, but I don't. And this tension is normally what gets us to fall back into old habits because the perceived value of what you're quitting on and giving up on is higher than the other motivation of why you gave it up in the first place. You don't need the right time. You don't need a big moment. Okay, I think we have this trope in society of someone in a movie whose like wife is screaming at him, well, I'm gonna leave you if you don't stop drinking, it's out of control, and he's like, shut the f up, and smashing things and yelling and storming out, and you're like, okay, that's when it's time to quit. Or someone who like crashes their car and into a tree and it falls on them and they like get out of their car like, oh, I need to quit. You don't need this big theatrical moment, rock bottom, to quit something. I said this in the last video, but it's worth repeating. Just because you didn't have a rock bottom doesn't mean you don't have a problem. It means you've gotten lucky. I didn't have a rock bottom. I saw a trajectory line. Okay, I'm here. 5-10 years from now, I'll be here. Or I guess a better example would be I'll be here. I don't want to get there. it's time for a change. Let me experiment with 30 days. Ended up being the best 30 days, which turned into 180, 365, and here we are over 1,000, okay? So this point, very quick, you don't need the right time, you don't need the right place, you don't need any reason, and you don't need to explain to anyone. This tip is to forget about forever. I see a comment a lot that says, I'm 5 days into this quit drinking thing and I'm thinking about doing it forever. And I love the enthusiasm, passion, but do not think this way. Or at least if I had thought this way, I wouldn't have kept up being sober as long as I did. Don't fall into the all or nothing approach, where you're either drinking a lot or you're never doing it again. This is extreme. This is how your mind wants to split things, because it's very clear, it's black and white. I'm either good or I'm bad. I'm either healthy or I'm unhealthy. I'm either drinking or I'm sober. Now, sure, like some things you can't be a little bit pregnant. I totally get there's a line, but mentally, if you find yourself saying I'm never going back, it's much heavier. So what do you do instead? What I did is I said, I'm not never going to drink again. I'm gonna give myself a 30-day challenge. 30 days, no booze, and that's it. I think when you approach habits this way and you reevaluate after 30 days, it's a much more sustainable way to go about it. Get new hobbies. You're gonna have so much time when you stop drinking, because it's like 4 or 5 hours at night, but it's also the energy you get back the next day where you're not just like hungover and you just wanna scroll all day. You get all that time back for you to really pursue things you love or experiment with what do you love, to find that out. Because drinking is a great substitute for a personality. If you're just the craziest, wackiest person because you drink them, like some people, it's their whole personality, drinking. So my advice to you would be to write down 5 to 10 things that you've always been curious about and wanted to do but never have. That's where the excitement starts to come back and life starts to feel really fun. When I stopped drinking, I got back into so many interests like gardening, bird watching, puzzles. Apparently there's a thin line between being sober and 73 years old. So yeah, that's the point. Get hobbies, write down 5 to 10 things, and pursue one of them when you're doing your 30-day no alcohol challenge. That's a good piece of advice I would definitely do. This journey is about self-discovery at the core. That's really what it is. And if you're someone who's on that journey, I would love to, be there with you. I'll link down below our email list that you can get on. It's 100% free. I send a weekly newsletter with tips like this in written form. And then also there's 11 questions that'll change your life in there. Those are my favorite 11 journaling questions for self-growth. That's a great thing to do as you're going through this like 30-day challenge or however long you're doing this for. Here's a tactical tip. Don't buy booze. Throw out all the booze in your house, or at least give it to someone if you have a roommate and tell them to lock it away. A lot of times with habits, we talk about what we gain, and especially with like sobriety and stuff, they're like, oh, you'll gain energy, you'll gain confidence, you'll gain not being hungover, it's positive, but there's so much motivation when you look at pain. And in fact, pain motivates people time and time again in behaviorism more than pleasure. Those are the two primary drivers, like what you'll gain versus the pain. You know anything about marketing, right? All the sales messages are digging and prying at pain. That's what gets us to change. So how do you do this? You take out this journal and you write, what will this look like? What will my life look like in 5 to 10 years if this doesn't change? Just let that question and let it ride out however it may. So when I did this, I'll just be honest and vulnerable here. I didn't like when I would drink, I would get irritable, and I would never say I have anger issues. No one ever described me as having anger issues, but that irritability, that snappiness, that, don't talk to Clark, he's in a mood right there. That's what I'm talking about. And so I wrote out, I'm like, okay, if this doesn't change, when I have kids, if I'm drinking all the time, I'm gonna be irritable with them? Or I'm gonna be irritable in front of them and they're gonna change their image of me? I'm like, okay, write that, that's data. Or I'm like, if I'm totally honest, especially in my 20s, there were times where I thought I was good to drive and I was probably not. And so I'm like, dude, that's scary. Getting a DUI. Explaining to your future self, yeah, sorry that happened. I couldn't handle Margarita Mondays. Thought I was good to drive, huh? Simple terms, I would be waking up at 10 a.m., hungover like a potato, and not being able to work on a business for another 5-10 years and the productivity's in the toilet. And like, that's what I'm talking about here, okay? And you might be like, well, that's negative, Clark. I want to be positive all the time. Well, there's a difference between heavy and negative, okay? And I think some of the heaviness really amps up the motivation. And it's not negative, because preventing yourself from doing negative things is a positive. You wanna look at it that way. So this tip is to really dig for the pain. Again, it's not about what you're gaining, it's about what is it costing you here. That tip alone can give you enough motivation to really set you in the right trajectory. This one is going to be maybe difficult to articulate exactly what I'm talking about, but it's admitting that this process is mixed. I read things online like, going sober is the best thing that ever happened to me. I got so much confidence, and you just hear benefit, 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 benefit. I'm never going back. And that was me for like the first year, because it was still this like high of a new identity for you of like, yeah, I don't drink alcohol, I used to, but now look. Ego boost, right, of you can ride that pretty far. Then after a year, that wears off, and you're left with this mixed nostalgia for the days you used to drink. Very weird. Or you miss that 2-drink feeling. Or I go home for the holidays and I see everyone loose and having a good time and connecting, and they don't want the night to end, and they're talking for like 3 hours, and I'm like, you don't even like Auntie whatever that much. Out at a bar and people have these deep connecting conversations because they've had a couple drinks. Like that's the yeah, I guess I missed that feeling and that part of it. I missed the instant flow state it would put me in, the 2-drink feeling. If I was ever nervous for a video, like I would drink a couple drinks and I'd be in this like loose, chatty flow state. I miss that 2-drink feeling, and that switch I could just hit and instantly have it. So I'm putting this in here just to be real, that that's okay. And despite missing all of that, I know that what I've gained is so much better than that. And if you don't acknowledge that, hey, maybe there are some parts that I miss about this, that are gonna be hard, that aren't just gonna be like benefit, 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 benefit. Like I didn't just wanna make sober content that's just gushing over the benefits, because there's some challenges too. And that has been one for me, is finding other ways to channel that flow state and having to really work for it instead of just popping a few drinks and then the nerves go away. And digging down, moreover, like digging down to why you have the nerves there in the first place. Okay, I'm nervous in a social situation. Why is that? Why do I feel like I always have to jack myself up and alter my energy so that I fit in? What if I just owned where I was in the moment and just went into that state of what I'm feeling? Maybe that's enough. And maybe it's the altering the energy and the, I need to be someone other than I am and loose and care. Like maybe that's what's f***ing up relationships, f***ing me up mentally and having this anxiety that I can't be with who I am. You wanna talk about shadow work? That's the shadow work you get after a year plus of sobriety. Never feel good enough. All the light things, right? Anyway, not to make this heavy on you, but yeah, that's definitely the deepest levels of the iceberg, so to speak. You want our 11 questions to change your life? I'll link that down below where you get on our newsletter, 100% free. What'd you think of the video? Was that useful? Let me know in the comments. And hey, good luck. You got this. I believe in you. Stop settling, start living. Peace.